A standard 19th-century grand chandelier features over 300 individual illumination points. The official history ledgers claim these massive, sealed indoor spaces were lit by burning raw coal gas and whale oil. Let's run the logistical math. 300 open combustion flames burning for a single 6-hour evening event consumes thousands of cubic feet of oxygen and produces lethal levels of toxic carbon soot. Yet, the surviving original blueprints show zero industrial exhaust ventilation, and the intricately painted vaulted ceilings directly above them, perfectly spotless, zero smoke damage. The physics of the official story are completely impossible. They didn't burn oil. They inherited a self-sustaining atmospheric grid, a grid that was violently ripped out and replaced for one specific reason. You cannot attach a billing meter to free energy. Welcome to the audit.
Let's begin. Let us audit the most basic law of combustion chemistry, the physical byproduct of a yellow flame. Early coal gas and animal oils were incredibly dirty fuels. A yellow or orange flame mathematically indicates incomplete combustion, and incomplete combustion produces a heavy, greasy, black carbon soot. This is not an architectural theory. This is an inescapable law of thermodynamics. 10,000 gas jets inside a sealed marble building produce a non-negotiable chemical outcome: massive, toxic, carbon soot. Every surface above the flame, the ornate frescoes, the Corinthian columns, the vaulted ceilings, would be permanently coated in a thick, toxic layer of black carbon. Yet the archival photographs from the 1850s to the 1890s show pristine, brilliant white interiors. If their narrative is true, there should be an army of thousands of workers on 50-foot wooden scaffolding, washing the ceilings with harsh chemical solvents every single morning. There is no historical record of this massive daily scrubbing operation. The municipal budgets do not reflect the cost. The photographs show no scaffolding. A machine that produces mass soot must have a mechanism for mass soot removal. These buildings have none. The chemical receipts are missing because the combustion never happened.
They want you to believe that Victorian high society held massive, all-night balls with 10,000 citizens packed into enclosed masonry halls lit by thousands of open gas flares. Let's run the toxicological math on their claim. 19th century town gas was not clean natural gas. It was manufactured by baking raw coal. The historical chemical ledgers prove that unpurified coal gas contained up to 15% raw carbon monoxide before it was even combusted. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, highly lethal asphyxiant.
Modern OSHA regulations mandate emergency evacuation at 50 parts per million. A Victorian winter ball with 2,000 open coal gas flares would hit lethal toxicity levels in exactly 42 minutes. They didn't dance in these halls. They would have suffocated on the floor.
In a completely sealed masonry palace in 1880, thousands of open flames would consume the limited oxygen while pumping out catastrophic levels of carbon monoxide and extreme radiant heat. Without massive, modern industrial HVAC systems and forced air exhaust matrices, which do not exist in the original blueprints, the heavier toxic gases would pool on the floor. The mathematical reality of their story is mass acute poisoning and asphyxiation within hours. Not an oversight, not a design flaw, a mathematical impossibility. You cannot cheat thermodynamics. If the massive exhaust infrastructure is missing from the blueprints, then the toxic combustion source was never there to begin with.
If you are going to claim that a massive pre-electric architectural complex was powered by town gas, you mathematically require miles of heavy, pressurized pipe infrastructure. In the mid to late 1800s, gas pipes were predominantly made of thick cast iron, rigid lead, or heavy copper. They required large threaded junctions or soldered joints. Now look at the architecture they supposedly installed this in. Solid marble columns, intricate plaster frescoes, massive load-bearing granite walls. To install miles of rigid iron gas piping into these completed structures, the architects had only two physical options. Option 1, chiseling. They would have had to violently carve deep, jagged channels into miles of pristine marble and finished plaster to hide the pipes, and then seamlessly repair the damage. The dust, the labor, and the structural compromise to load-bearing masonry would be staggering. Option 2, surface mounting. They would have to run ugly, heavy black iron pipes directly over the top of the ornate neoclassical artwork, completely ruining the aesthetic perfection of the architecture. The historical photographs show neither. The grand interiors are flawless. There are no massive iron pipes crawling up the marble columns. There are no visible repair seams in the intricate plaster ceilings where a pressurized gas network was supposedly embedded. And then there is the ultimate paradox of the suspension chains. Look closely at the archival photographs of massive multi-tiered chandeliers suspended 50 feet in the air. If that fixture is burning coal gas, there must be a pressurized heavy metal pipe delivering the fuel from the ceiling down to the burners. Yet when we audit the close-ups, we see them hanging from delicate, open-link chains. You cannot run a pressurized iron gas pipe down a flexible, open-link metal chain. The structural delivery system for the fuel defies the laws of physical plumbing. The fixtures appear to be completely wireless. They are structurally isolated from any massive fuel reservoir. The pipe infrastructure required to make the official narrative function simply is not there. The fixtures were conductive. They were drawing energy, not burning fuel.
Let us audit the physical logistics of daily human maintenance. The historians claim these grand fixtures were manually operated. If they were fueled by whale oil or early gas, they had to be manually lit with a physical flame. They had to be manually extinguished every single night. And if they were oil, they had to be manually refilled, their wicks trimmed, and their fragile glass housings polished every single day. A standard multi-tier fixture holds roughly 50 gallons of fuel. 50 gallons of whale oil weighs over 350 pounds. Are we expected to believe an army of men hauled 300-pound barrels of oil up 50-foot wooden ladders by hand every single afternoon just to light a library? Try doing the math on the man-hours required for that operation in a building with 5,000 suspended fixtures. You would need a permanent, highly trained army of acrobatic workers. You would need 50-foot wooden ladders and complex heavy scaffolding being maneuvered through crowded, highly decorated halls every evening just to turn the lights on. Think about the physical floor space required to roll massive ladder towers around a library or a museum filled with priceless artifacts. It is a logistical and financial absurdity. Modern historians try to explain this away by claiming they used long poles. A pole does not trim a wick. A pole does not refill a heavy oil reservoir. A pole does not clean greasy carbon soot off a glass mantle 80 feet in the air. Furthermore, the structural blueprints rarely show the heavy winch and pulley systems that would be required to safely lower multi-ton chandeliers to the floor. The macro infrastructure for daily manual combustion maintenance simply does not exist in the ledgers.
If they didn't burn dirty gas, And they didn't burn whale oil. What were they doing? They were harvesting. The massive geometric structures of the 1800s were not just shelters. They were integrated, self-sustaining atmospheric energy machines. The domes, the copper anti-tech on the roofs, the iron frameworks, and the precise geometric symmetry were all designed to gather and distribute etheric or electromagnetic charge. The wireless chandeliers were exactly that, wireless. They illuminated through frequency and atmospheric conduction, not combustion. But you cannot monopolize the atmosphere. You cannot charge a citizen for the ambient energy in the air. To build a financial empire, you must transition a population from a system of abundance to a system of scarcity. You have to introduce a physical fuel that can be mined, transported, measured, and built. They didn't invent the electrical grid to save us from the dark. They invented it to put a meter on the architecture. The crude gas pipes violently strapped to pristine marble and the ugly surface-mounted electrical wires that followed were not upgrades. They were a downgrade. They were the physical installation of a control grid over a highly advanced free energy system that they either did not understand or deliberately sabotaged to ensure a permanent, paying customer base.
When we compile the physical data, the complete mathematical absence of chemical soot, the total lack of industrial ventilation required to prevent mass asphyxiation, the impossible physics of the delivery pipes, and the missing logistical supply chains for daily maintenance. The official lighting narrative is a mathematical fiction. These magnificent structures were built with an integrated, clean illumination technology. They didn't burn gas. They didn't burn wood. They didn't burn oil. The people of the mid-1800s inherited massive, highly functional machines, and a new ruling class retrofitted them to run on a primitive, metered fuel system. The math never lies. The physical receipts tell a story of theft, not progress. If you are ready to stop reading the official narratives and start auditing the physical reality of the 19th century, hit the subscribe button.